new developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie. The FBI says DNA from an unknown male has been recovered from a glove found about 2 miles from Guthrie's home.
One thing that's clear is the Guthrie family believes there is at least a chance the ransom notes are from Nancy's captor or captors.
Recently surfaced footage is forcing investigators and the public alike to reconsider long-held assumptions about that fateful night.
Breaking news. Everything you thought you knew about the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping just got blown wide open today.
2:30 a.m. A quiet back road in the Catalina foothills. 12 cars passed through the darkness. 12, not one, not two. 12 separate vehicles captured on a residential Ring camera just miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. And at nearly the same moment, Nancy's pacemaker device performs its last recorded sync with her iPhone.
So yesterday, the Sheriff's Department reported that DNA was found in Nancy Guthrie's home.
The first thing that's very encouraging to me is you're seeing the Sheriff's Department and the FBI working together. You see sheriff deputies holding lights.
Unlike the porch footage, this individual is not masked, moving with a measured stride that suggests familiarity with the area.
Then, silence. No public arrest, no confirmed suspect, no definitive DNA match. But now, 3 weeks into the investigation, a new direction is emerging. Not from police, but from a forensic scientist who says the case isn't cold yet.
It's a good point. And Jonathan, what goes into the FBI's decision to come out publicly and release these videos? They want the public's help.
You can also see the person's gait, the way they walk. All of these big clues giving much needed hope to the Guthrie family. Tom?
Takes an 84-year-old woman who can't walk well on her own. It is a burden. It is a troublesome.
Good morning, Lawrence. That horrifying surveillance video of the masked figure on Nancy Guthrie's doorstep right behind me was released on Tuesday, and so far the FBI has not.
And his message is clear. If someone went into that house and took her, they left something behind. So here's the question. Have investigators already identified a suspect? Or are they still missing the one piece of evidence that could expose everything? Tonight, we examine the latest developments in the Nancy Guthrie case and what the newest evidence may reveal. Before headlines and breaking news banners, there was Nancy.
After nearly 30 years, most recently serving as SWAT lieutenant commander. So great to have both of you, obviously. When about 4.5 hours after Savannah Guthrie and her siblings released that most recent video.
Part of the importance of how we've built the cameras at Ring and cameras like what you're seeing here is that they do broadcast.
And let's bring in the aforementioned senior correspondent, Alicia Acuna, outside the home there. Alicia, we're watching these pictures from the Fox flight team.
Nancy Guthrie was 84 years old, a mother, a grandmother, a woman described as steady and disciplined. She lived in the Tucson area of Arizona, in the quiet Catalina foothills. A neighborhood defined by winding roads and desert stillness. She was the mother of Savannah Guthrie, co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. But Nancy herself kept a low profile.
There's something in that ransom note that's accurate. Now, there's reportedly 2, some people say 3 ransom notes that are the same thing.
I was thinking Savannah's an attorney, Savannah is a journalist, like Savannah is very savvy, so to ask for proof of life.
My earlier video will be in the pinned comment and in the show notes and description down below. If you missed it, I go in great detail on the photos and stuff, but I have a theory, y'all.
Her life ran on routine. Sunday virtual church services, regular phone calls with friends, a carefully structured daily rhythm. Predictability can be comforting, but it can also make someone vulnerable. On January 31st, Nancy was last seen. By February 1st, she was gone. No confirmed public sightings since. And according to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, authorities believe she was forcibly taken from her home in the early morning hours.
I was once again with the president. He and I were both reviewing the newly released surveillance footage from FBI in the Savannah Guthrie case.
Branson Quirk, there, a producer over at TMZ, has been covering all of this as it's unfolded. Branson, thank you so much for being here with us.
they are asking the person that is responsible for this that they are ready to listen. But it's on one condition, saying that they need proof of life, because in the day and age of AI.
But that belief rests on fragments, digital signals, recovered images, trace evidence, and now possibly a new suspect. January 31st, evening. Nancy's routine appears normal. No public reports of distress, no 911 calls, nothing visibly out of place. February 1st, 1:47 a.m. According to investigators, Nancy's Google Nest doorbell camera was disconnected. The act suggests awareness, intent, preparation. Shortly after, interior cameras detect motion, but Nancy did not have a subscription that preserved full footage history.
Well, Josh, newsworthy updates from the sheriff's office and the FBI are slowing down, but that does not mean this investigation is. No one wants this case to go cold.
So the first thing you're going to look at to make that determination is the scene itself. So based on reports, there were broken floodlights. They were found at the back of the home.
It's somebody's fantasy, and I don't know that you can take much from it. I think that bottom line is Mrs. Guthrie was abducted, and
which means much of what occurred in those minutes is lost, recovered only through back-end data extraction. Play 6-second news clip discussing image recovery. That recovery revealed a masked individual at her porch, dark clothing, gloves, a backpack described as a 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker pack sold exclusively at Walmart. But here's where the timeline tightens. Around 2:30 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker device performs its final sync with her iPhone.
Liz, first of all, just thoughts on the video update we just heard there from Savannah, and remind us where the investigation stands right now.
Did not say any information that leads to a suspect. It is about bringing their mother home in whatever way they can and being able to have peace and knowing where she is.
To discover that she wasn't in the house. So they were the first and the last, okay? And an interesting anomaly that I've caught from, my experience is the garage door.
Display phone ping map animation. Then, no further activity. That digital timestamp may be the closest thing investigators have to a confirmed moment. But was she still inside the home at 2:30? Or already being moved? That uncertainty shapes everything that follows. Within hours of the missing report, local deputies responded. Soon after, the FBI joined. Forensic teams processed the home.
I went into the tunnels and, there's a lot of homeless people that stay down there, but volunteers have been looking in the tunnels.
To another challenging story that we have now been following for more than 2 weeks. This is the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother.
On what led to her disappearance. Was it a burglary gone wrong or a targeted kidnapping? Still, no answers as her family is pleading for her safe return.
And I feel like they invited the FBI in, or the FBI came in pretty quickly, but maybe it wasn't quite quickly enough.
According to federal law enforcement sources, some DNA found inside Nancy's home came back to individuals with legitimate reasons to be there, which means at least some of the genetic material was not suspicious. But then another discovery surfaced, a glove, and found approximately 2 miles from Nancy's home, tested. And according to reporting, the DNA from that glove did not match samples collected inside the house, nor did it match profiles in the FBI's CODIS database. That's significant.
Now, the lab is still analyzing the samples at this point, and Guthrie's family, including Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie.
That from Supervisory Special Agent Dan Brunner, formerly of the FBI. He says they should have held on to it. He says they actually tipped off the bad guy.
You focus it, you take your time slowly. The fact is, someone at FBI headquarters, whether it be Kash Patel or somebody else, made the decision.
In the case, take a look at your screen. We'll put them up. You can see what appears to be a male figure armed, carrying a backpack. These photos are isolated images. They were taken from Nancy Guthrie's home surveillance camera.
Because it suggests one of 3 possibilities. The glove is unrelated. The perpetrator has no prior record in CODIS. The DNA sample is too limited or degraded for identification. Each scenario leads in a different direction. Then when 3 weeks into the investigation, frustration began to grow, which brings us to a turning point, not from law enforcement, but from the forensic community. Forensic scientist Peter Valentine, chair of the Forensic Science Department at the University of New Haven's Henry C. Lee College, made a public statement that caught attention. On Fox News' Crime and Justice podcast, Valentine said the case isn't cold yet, but he encouraged investigators to bring in the best people to scrutinize the house with fresh eyes. What I would suggest, he said, is that you go into that house with the best people in each discipline in forensics. That statement implies something subtle.
And again, that doorway is the focus and really the center of this entire investigation, Sean. That's where they found Nancy Guthrie's blood. That was the scene of that doorbell video. And 4 weeks later.
And in the meantime, the FBI combing through all of the investigation tips that they've been receiving. They say as of this morning, they have received more than 750 calls.
And what authorities are now saying tonight about the tips coming in after Savannah revealed the family's $1 million reward. Here again, Aaron Katursky.
And authorities are stressing tonight, David, that whoever provides that crucial tip that leads to Nancy Guthrie can be eligible for the $1 million reward and still choose to remain anonymous.
Not failure, but opportunity. Valentine expressed confidence that if someone entered the home and removed Nancy, evidence must exist. But he cautioned that the key evidence may not be obvious. Not a clear fingerprint, not a clean DNA profile, but trace evidence, hair, fibers, microscopic material, which raises a compelling question. Have investigators already found something, but not yet recognized its significance?
Yeah, I love to invite him onto the show because, of course, he has that expertise that you can only get when you've worked in law enforcement and particularly in the FBI for years. So joining us this morning live from the Valley is Lance Lysing. Thank you so much for lending your time and expertise a number of times.
In abduction cases, it's extremely important in those first 12 to 48 hours that you put a lot of resources on it very quickly. Usually you see that in like child abductions. The FBI will get involved right away in those. So Arizona has a child abduction response team that the FBI is part of, multi-agency team.
Investigators just revealed they recovered DNA that could be connected to Nancy Guthrie's abduction. The mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie vanished nearly 2 weeks ago after authorities believe someone broke into her home in Tucson, Arizona.
Deeper analysis. What does new suspect really mean? The phrase new suspect is powerful, but according to publicly available information, authorities have not announced a named suspect. So what does that mean? In many investigations, a suspect may not be publicly identified. Law enforcement often narrows focus quietly, behind closed doors, through evidence patterns, digital trails, vehicle analysis.
New developments in the search for Savannah's mom as it enters a 24th day. 2 law enforcement sources are telling NBC News that one of those doorbell camera images of the suspect
and Nancy Guthrie is still missing. And in 2026, with all the technology that we have, people are just asking one question. How is this even possible? I mean, here we are, day 24.
And what if investigators never get the answer of who did this? What if Nancy Guthrie is never found? That could be the reality of the situation.
And so if this wasn't for the money, if that's true, then it's not a kidnapping. It's also not a kidnapping for ransom.
And here's where the Ring camera footage becomes critical. A resident approximately 2.5 miles from Nancy's home reported that their Ring camera captured 12 cars passing by around 2:30 a.m., 12 vehicles in a narrow time window, on a back road. At the same time, Nancy's pacemaker last synced. Investigators reportedly had not initially checked that specific camera, which suggests this lead emerged later. Fresh evidence, fresh direction, and potentially a new suspect pool.
And so now we go to a crime scene, or what we believe is a potential scene, on a search warrant up on the, in Rio Rico. Same thing. We gather all that evidence, it goes to our lab.
If I was him, I'd be taking all the help you could get. You know, if you haven't figured it out in 2 or 3 days, then do you really want to just be running around?
We are continuing to follow all of the developments regarding the search for Nancy Guthrie, that search entering week 3. I want to bring up some of the footage from Nancy. These are just some of the photos that have been posted throughout social media as the search continues. This is a picture with her daughter.
Second major reveal. The vehicle question. Let's slow this down. 12 cars. Around 2:30 a.m., 2.5 miles away. What if one of those vehicles transported Nancy? If that's the case, investigators may now be analyzing license plate data, traffic camera cross-referencing, cellular tower pings, vehicle ownership records. But here's the complication. Without knowing which car, if any, is relevant, 12 becomes a puzzle. Were they random passers-by, shift workers, late-night drivers, or someone deliberately avoiding main roads? And remember, the glove was found 2 miles from her home. That radius matters. It places both the glove and the ring footage in roughly the same zone.
We do have the latest developments on the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie.
Been that long, but still, when you have this an elderly woman kind of hanging in the wings on this, it's an issue. And so what this critical time loss.
What investigators later recovered appears to have been extracted directly from the device itself.
Coincidence or movement pattern? If the glove is connected, it may indicate a route, which could narrow suspect profiling. As new details emerged, online forums reignited. Some speculated about random opportunistic crime, others suggested a planned abduction. A few questioned whether investigators missed early evidence by not canvassing every ring camera immediately. But investigators often prioritize immediate proximity first, expanding outward later. That expansion may now be happening. Valentin's suggestion of bringing in outside forensic specialists has fueled debate.
Still having, in their words, meat on the bones. That means the Range Rover lead is not closed. It is being processed.
The FBI is no longer asking what happened. They are determining who did it. Before we break down the investigative threads the FBI is actively running in this case.
She interviewed a lot of the Epstein victims, in-depth interviews with Virginia Gouffet and some of the other women.
Was the initial processing thorough? Or could critical trace evidence have been overlooked? It's important to note, according to investigators, the case remains active, not cold. Active cases evolve. Evidence is re-examined. Assumptions are tested. And sometimes, a new suspect isn't a person. It's a new investigative direction. As of the latest public updates, Nancy Guthrie remains missing. No arrests have been announced. Authorities continue processing forensic evidence. Genetic genealogy testing may still be underway. Tips are actively being solicited. Savannah Guthrie recently urged viewers to submit anonymous tips, even noting that some may be eligible for cash rewards.
Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. They're also working to prioritize which leads to follow after receiving more than 18,000 calls in this case.
Authorities in Arizona say the DNA submitted for FBI testing in the search for Nancy Guthrie, who has not been seen all month, did not come back with any matches.
They had recovered 16 gloves in total. One of them, found about 2 miles away, matched the one that was seen on that doorbell camera.
That plea signals urgency and hope. If a vehicle from that 2:30 a.m. and window is identified, if trace evidence yields a profile, if the glove connects to a person not in CODIS, then a suspect may soon be named. But until then, everything remains conditional. A house in the foothills, a disabled camera, a glove 2 miles away, 12 cars in the dark, a pacemaker's final digital whisper at 2:30 a.m. Forensic experts say evidence must exist somewhere. Maybe not obvious, maybe microscopic, maybe hidden in fibers or overlooked particles.
Yeah, with FBI lab testing unable to find any match to the DNA on a glove found in Nancy's property in what is now day 17.
This morning, we are learning Savannah Guthrie does intend to return to work at NBC's Today Show at some point in the future.
The video comes as Savannah Guthrie posts a new plea on social media, vowing that her $1 million reward will be paid in cash.
Randy, why do you think it took so long to get this information? That these are two separate pieces of timing here.
Investigations don't always break with dramatic confessions. Sometimes they break with a fragment, a thread, a vehicle caught in the corner of a frame. If a new suspect has been identified quietly, investigators aren't saying, but the expansion outward, from house to glove to road, suggests movement, and movement means progress, until that fragment connects to a name, until that name connects to proof. The desert night of February 1st remains unresolved, because in cases like this, the truth rarely announces itself. It waits, in the smallest detail, and somewhere between 12 passing headlights and a silent porch camera, the answer may already be there.